Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm Bobby Narang. I'm going to be your host today. All right, let's get started. Go ahead and share my screen here. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bobby Narang. I am one of the co-founders here at OpenSense and serve as our Chief Customer Officer. I am incredibly excited to be here today and to speak with you a little bit about OpenSense and specifically OpenSense and our integration with HubSpot. And again, we're going to cover some really interesting topics today, but really we're going to focus on driving revenue with HubSpot and employee email, which is a channel that if you're not familiar with, we're going to spend a little bit of time ensuring that you understand what is employee email and what role it serves in helping you to achieve your marketing objectives and ultimately how it will enable you to unlock limitless value for you and your team. The reason that I'm so excited about today's conversation is because it really highlights our integration with HubSpot. And one of the things that I think is so powerful about the subject matter today is that you as marketers and your organization have invested time, money, and energy into building an incredible instance of HubSpot. And we obviously know that it can be used in multiple ways, whether it's Marketing Hub or Sales Hub or even Service Hub to some extent as well. But really, what I'm excited to share with you today is that all of that time, money, and energy that you've invested into HubSpot, the data and the effort and what you've been tracking can really be utilized to drive educational journeys, to amplify your brand. It can help to drive conversions and also increase new opportunities for upselling and cross-selling. And so really, with the data that you have in HubSpot, we're able to drive some really powerful experiences in employee email, and we'll really dig into that as we continue. Um, so why is this important for us to talk about today? Well, it's really interesting. I feel like this year more so than ever, we've heard some of the talk, as we confront sort of different macroeconomic conditions and maybe we've experienced in the last several years. But really, this idea that expanding an existing customer is the new logo, meaning this whole concept of land expand. If you really want to be successful in today's market, what they're saying is that you got to get really good at engaging your existing customers and identifying new opportunities to grow those existing customers. And um, I think that subject matter is somewhat debatable, but what's not debatable is that the data shows that it's actually 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer versus nurturing an existing customer, right? So again, there's this new focus on really engaging your existing customers to drive value for the business. But what's really interesting about this is that marketers like you, you have a ton of experience, and really the primary goal of marketing has always been to attract new customers. And you've made significant investments in products and personnel and processes to get really darn good at attracting new customers. But in the advent of this era where marketing to your existing customers has become more important, we're seeing companies, create that headcount for customer marketing, putting people behind it. But what's really kind of fascinating is that the same tools and processes and people that you use to get really darn effective at attracting new customers doesn't always match what you need to get really good at growing your existing customers. And a really simple example of this is just the sheer fact, like if you want to meet your customer where they are, kind of like you want to meet your prospect where they are around the web or on socials, where your customers are on email, meaning the most likely place that they're going to be engaging with your brand is through the emails that they're receiving from their salesperson or from their customer success representative or from the account manager or the support team. They're captive at this point. You've already won them as a customer. They're not at in the traditional channels that you've invested in. They're most likely going to be interacting with you through email. And what I'm so thrilled to share with you today is that through email, those messages that are being sent by your colleagues every single day to your existing customer base, you're going to have the ability with our integration with HubSpot to attract leads, engage opportunities, and delight your customers. And we're so excited to be able to tell this story that aligns with this HubSpot flywheel that, if you're a HubSpot admin, I'm sure you have some deep familiarity with. But really, we're going to align our conversation today and talk about some specific plays that you can run. We're going to align it with this concept of the flywheel, where we're going to focus on attracting, engaging, and delighting. But first, let's talk about email. And when I talk about email, the first thing that probably comes to mind is kind of like what you're seeing on my screen here, which is very traditional email marketing, the types of messages that you queue up in your HubSpot instance through Marketing Hub and sort of send out. Think of them as kind of like your newsletters or quarterly updates or whatever the case might be. We know that this is a really powerful channel for marketers, but that's not the type of email that we're talking about. And before we get into that, I think it's important to also acknowledge that those emails that we were just looking at, those newsletter type emails, how many of you have a similar experience to what we see Peyton Walbeck here, the head of marketing at Nectar, sharing on LinkedIn about? He says he's been thinking about how I delete emails lately. 1, I hit the checkbox on any emails that look spammy. Number 2, I mass delete without even opening. I open the emails that I'm not sure if spam, skip the entire email body. I look at the sender name, title, company. If it feels spammy, I hit delete. If it does not, read the email body. How many of you kind of go through a similar process just as we continue to be inundated with emails that are being sent every day by the brands that we know so well? But the reality is that there's just a massive amount of competition in that inbox, and we have to have systems and processes in place to kind of navigate it. And one of those things is really kind of focusing on the emails from people or brands that you know. And that's where employee email comes into play. The likelihood of an email being opened and read is so much higher when that message is coming from a person or a company that you know deeply. And that's the kind of email that OpenSense focuses on. It's the messages that you're composing and sending on a day-to-day basis from Outlook, from Gmail, from your mobile devices. And we'll talk a little bit about the math of that in just a moment. But to kind of highlight this, we've developed this concept and we call it the email value pyramid. And I think Peyton's post on LinkedIn helps to really illustrate the concept here, which is you've kind of got this uh, lessening of importance of message based on where it sits on the email value pyramid. At the very bottom, okay, are those personalized, those super automated kind of like marketing blast type emails that you're shooting out from whether it's HubSpot or if you've invested in Marketo or Pardot or Eloqua. Again, it's kind of like it's just table stakes. You just hit your whole list up. If they've opted in, they're getting an email. Those are the ones that Peyton and perhaps many of you just auto select and auto delete right off the bat. The next level up is a really interesting category, which are the kind of like semi handwritten emails. Think of these as like the messages that your SDR team spins up out of SalesLoft or Outreach. They're semi personalized. You kind of got the merge tokens and maybe there's a little bit of real time personalization that the SDR sort of provides before they fire it off. But again, it's still somewhat bulky in nature. You're hitting up maybe 100 people a day through this particular method or channel. And again, I think it's pretty obvious for savvy buyers, like when they're being targeted with a SalesLoft or Outreach email. But then at the very top are your emails that are handwritten. When I say handwritten, I mean the one-to-one messages that you're composing and sending in just in just a day-to-day basis of doing business. And so we refer to this as employee email. That's where we live, and that's where this integration with HubSpot is going to have immense value for your organization. But just so you're aware of the opportunity here, A recent study showed that the average employee sends 40 emails a day. And I'm sure some of you are going to be snickering at that number because you're probably thinking about how many emails you send every day. And I hear you. But on average, it's about 40 per day. When you do the math on that, it's about 10,000 emails every single year. That means for a 100-person company, you're talking about roughly 1 million emails that are being composed and sent just in the normal course of day-to-day business. And what if you as a marketer could really kind of take advantage of that? It's not just the volume of those emails, it's really the value of them as well. Those emails are being sent by your employees, and your employees are the personification of your brand. I'm reminded of a story where I recently stepped into a Bank of America to make a withdrawal, and the teller, asked me if I would take a meeting to open up this special type of account, and I told her very politely that, you know, many years ago, I made a decision, a line in the sand, that Bank of America, I need you to waive my ATM fees, and if you don't, I will not bank with you for any specialty sort of products or anything like that. She heard me out, she understood, but she made this really ingratiated plea that I'd give them a shot and give them another chance. And there's something really compelling about her. And even though I felt a certain way about the brand Bank of America, this lady and the experience that I had engaging with her totally changed my perception in that moment. Well, recognize that your people have that same influence on your audience. And by really showcasing them and taking advantage of the relationships that they're building, just again, in the normal course of day to day business, there's a massive opportunity here for you to take advantage of. So, employee email, it's prevalent, it's important, it's where your customers are, and it highlights your people. Let's start getting into some of those plays. Okay. So remember, we're talking through the flywheel here. Let's start with the attraction stage or the attract stage where we want to really focus on getting their attention. And I think the key concept that I want you to take away from this slide is that if you have the data in HubSpot, we can utilize that data to drive a totally personalized experience. And in this case, in the attract stage, we're really kind of focusing on building awareness. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to build almost personalized awareness. So in this scenario, you can see in this email signature, there's a case study about Snowflake and how they scaled their ABM program. This might be a banner that when I send an email, we see in HubSpot that the recipient is the director of demand generation. So we decide that we're going to pull a banner that's highly relevant to that particular persona. And again, we're doing this to really kind of execute on the brand awareness campaigns that we've already built out. We've already invested the time into these case studies, into the content, into the webinars, into the videos. This allows us to kind of operationalize this channel with a totally personalized awareness campaign that, again, can be targeted based on title, on industry, on buyer stage. So perhaps there's a piece of content that makes a ton of sense further down the funnel, or even language and location, so that your recipient who's in Spain sees a banner that's presented in Spanish. But the idea here is that you have the content, it's designed to build awareness. You can now leverage that content in this channel in a highly targeted fashion because you have that data about each recipient, about each prospect in HubSpot. And so activating that data really is the foundational component of this integration. How many of you have some type of digital or in-person event planned at some point this year? It's likely that if you do, you've built out some operations to ensure that you're tracking registrants, that you're tracking attendees, and perhaps you're tracking those who don't attend. Well, what if that data, because it's present in HubSpot, what if we could use that data first and foremost to actually promote the event? Okay, I'll share a case study with you. We have a customer called Outreach. They have an in-person event that they host every year. And they told us that 10% of their registrants for that in-person event actually registered through the email signature channel. Pretty cool. But let's say you track the fact that a person registers. Cool. Well, the next time they get an email from someone at your company, because HubSpot shows that they've registered for this event, we want to put a banner in that email that says, "Thanks for registering. Here's a guide to the event," or "Here's the app that we want you to download," or whatever the case might be. And perhaps after the event, you keep track of the people who didn't attend. Well, maybe we want to see that data coming out of HubSpot. And when that email is sent, we see the data that they didn't attend. So we put a webinar recording beneath the email signature. So we're actually getting the shelf life out of that content that we produced, that event that we produced. So you're really kind of leveraging the strategy that you already have here, which is to produce an in-person or digital event, but based on whether they've registered, if they attended, you can actually tailor the experience in that next email that they receive from anyone in your company to get the most out of that investment that you're making in producing that event. Podcasts. It seems like every day there's a new podcast related to the industry that you work in. And think about the amount of investment that it takes, not just from a money standpoint, but a time standpoint. You got to be consistent when you make your podcast. Well, in addition to that, you've got to think about ways to continue to grow your audience. And so what if you could, because you have the data in HubSpot, make sure that when someone at your company reaches out, because that recipient is likely to listen to the podcast, we're going to promote that podcast. If they're likely to subscribe to the newsletter, we can promote the newsletter. If they're likely to enter a giveaway or check out your YouTube channel, we can promote those as well. And so again, the key concept here is that you're already doing a tremendous job in identifying your customers, your prospects, what they care about. You're enriching that data. We can utilize that data in real time to drive these experiences to ultimately help you to achieve your objectives here. In this case, increasing our subscriber or listener base. All right, we're making our way around the flywheel now. Next, we're gonna look at the engage stage. So the engage stage is we're moving them further down the funnel. Let's take a look at our first play here. So I love this one because if you're a marketer, you've probably heard the phrase or used it many times, but basically facilitating an alignment between sales and marketing. And this is where we get to really kind of like build some really cool functionality or use cases that show that alignment and really highlight it. So imagine a scenario where you've done a tremendous job. Maybe you have an ABM platform and you're putting ads around the web to really kind of drive that awareness and getting people into consideration stage, getting them into a demo, fill out a demo form and you're doing your job to deliver those ads around the web. Well, what about when that prospect moves far enough down the funnel that they eventually receive an email, which is absolutely a part of an effective growth and demand gen strategy. Once you get to a certain part, you want that SDR or BDR to reach out. Well, what if you're tracking that in HubSpot, the types of ads that they've received or what campaign they're associated with? And then on that first email from your SDR, we're able to embed an ad that's totally aligned with the theme or the strategy or the objective of the ads that prospect had previously received through digital through different channels. You're creating a unified ad experience within your unified brand experience. And again, this is all just facilitating that seamless alignment between the marketing organization and then ultimately when your sales organization starts reaching out via email. And so if you'd love to see that kind of alignment and you can see a manner in which, hey, we want to extend that campaign that's been so effective into that email channel as we get that buyer further down the funnel. OpenSense with this integration with HubSpot is going to allow you to do that in a really seamless and scalable way. And we'll touch on that in just a moment. Multi-threading. Okay. If you've got an enterprise sales team, you've got a sales-led organization, we know that you are far more effective at closing business when you are able to multi-thread. And for those of you who aren't aware, multi-threading is basically the idea that, hey, um, I've got the head of marketing that came in for the demo, but I also want to loop in the head of sales at that organization because I know my value goes up if both stakeholders see value in our solution. And so multi-threading is the act through which a salesperson is engaging with multiple stakeholders at a prospect. Ultimately, that has the effect of increasing your win rates. But what if you could really kind of curate the experience for every single recipient and every single stakeholder? So, for instance, in the example I just shared, a sales leader might see how OpenSense will help you win more deals. But the marketer can see a banner that says how to create the perfect email signature. Again, those are pieces of content that we know are relevant for those two different personas or stakeholders. Those individual personas on the same email will see the banner that's relevant or targeted to them. So just think about the finesse that that demonstrates. But in addition to that, how that helps you to continue to build value for those stakeholders in this multi-threading that will eventually help you to win more deals. So whether it's multi-threading target personas, whether it's showing an account specific banner because you really want to wow them, whether it's, hey, congratulations on your Series A or your IPO. This idea, though, that again, if you have the data, we can use it to create these incredibly personalized experiences. And this one is incredibly effective for driving value in those multi-threaded emails that are going out as a part of your sales process. I want to take a second here before we get into the next play to share a concept with you that we've been articulating because there's an immense amount of value that we're able to surface. And it's through this concept of identified engagement. Okay. So to understand identified engagement, let's first talk about unidentified engagement. An example might be an ad that you promote in LinkedIn. And with any ad in most of your display channels, you're likely utilizing some type of UTM code that basically identifies traffic to your website as sourced through this particular medium. So for instance, like you can see 156 people clicked on an ad in LinkedIn, which resulted in a visit to your webpage. And maybe LinkedIn can enhance some of that data with a domain or a company. The best that you can do though is utilize that data to further retarget. Okay, we know that SAP clicked on a banner and came to our website. Cool. Well, maybe we'll nurture that whole account, with a follow-up campaign or whatever the case might be. That's an example of unidentified engagement. At best, we understand, perhaps who what the company is that's engaging. With OpenSense, you actually get recipient-specific identified engagement data. What that means is that if I have John and Mary on a multi-threaded email, when Mary, the VP of sales, clicks on the banner, OpenSense is able to surface that Mary clicked on that banner. When John, the head of marketing, clicks on the banner, we know that John clicked on the banner about creating an email signature. And so this concept of identified engagement is so critical for the next play, which is what if you could use HubSpot workflows to trigger a notification to maybe a sales rep when their case study banner is being clicked by a prospect, or an SDR or a BDR who is engaging with your existing customer base and is promoting a upsell or cross-sell banner or whatever the case might be. There's so much that can be done. The possibilities are endless, but the key to this ignition is the fact that we have identified engagement. We know who's clicking. And so think about all the things that you can potentially do. I mentioned already the ability to notify. If we know someone's clicking, we can use a workflow to automatically add them to a campaign or to a list. If I'm a rep, I can go to my HubSpot company record and see what banners, if any, they've clicked on, so that I can be prepared to discuss some topic or subjects that we clearly see that they have some interest in. Generating tasks. So, for instance, there's a webinar banner, and when a recipient clicks on it, that triggers a task to the SDR to call him. Like that helps to just increase conversions and ultimately really kind of be responsive. And also, we talk about customer marketing. Like if I'm promoting a banner about the next product that this person should be buying, why not trigger a notification to the CSM or to the account manager? Hey, Mary showed some interest in our pipeline tier. Maybe we should give her a call. So really exciting and powerful. And again, it's all predicated on a channel that is prevalent. These messages are going out every single day. And we just want to be able to start actioning that in a meaningful way. If any of this sounds daunting, I hear you. However, one of the things I want to sort of share with you is a quick story about Snowflake. Snowflake had this unbelievable one-to-one program that they'd built out for 4,000 different accounts. And they wanted to be able to align their email campaigns, specifically employee email, with these 4,000 one-to-one campaigns that they'd built out for their ABM program. And because of OpenSense's level of integration, they were able to very easily scale out those one-to-one campaigns into employee email. So much so that it was effective for whether it was their ABM campaigns, events, video content, so on and so forth. Definitely recommend checking out this case study on our website because I think it speaks to, again, scalability. And really, I think that's what we're really driving home here is that you're getting more out of the work that you're putting in. That work that you're putting into HubSpot, you can scale it out through this new channel and effectively drive objectives that you're working towards. So we've talked about attract, we've talked about engage. Now let's talk about delight. Okay. And this is a real opportunity for us to really kind of blow the customers away. And one of the critical things that I want to drive home on this is that your company and the products that you sell, that is one facet of the value that you're creating for your customer. Another facet is the experience that they have being your customer. It's kind of like certain stores that you shop at because you know that you're going to be treated the right way. I'll give you an example of where I've seen companies come up short on this front. We have a customer who's a massive software company, and they are utilizing a product that we integrate with. There was some issue with the product, and it's likely that our customer is one of the largest customers of this product. And you would imagine that if you submitted a ticket, that there'd be some level of personalized response. But in reality, what ended up happening was that customer was just engaging with the third party just via a simple ticketing tool. And to me, that kind of blew my mind. It's like, if this is one of the largest customers that product likely has, where's the person to answer a phone call? Where's the, hey, John, we want to make sure we rectify this for you or whatever, right? It was a totally impersonal experience. And so being treated like a number is just a missed opportunity in terms of building value. But what if, based on what we know about our customers, we could really provide a wow experience in the emails, whether it's in the example here, we know that they purchased our email signature solution. So let's provide them that information in the form of a guide or a deployment strategy document, kind of like what you see in this example here. But things like welcoming the new customer. Hey, get a closed won deal for 3 days. We're going to say, have a welcome to OpenSense banner, or promoting the knowledge base, sharing webinars, products that we think they might have some interest in. But really, at the end of the day, it's about, if you know the information about your customer, let's use it to create this really welcoming experience. Because again, at the end of the day, your product has value, but executing service really effectively is another value driver for the overall customer experience. And that just helps to ensure that we're driving stickiness. But then also, strategically speaking, we've got a really interesting opportunity here to get more customer reviews. HubSpot has some phenomenal survey tools. What if after a response on maybe a CSAT score or a CSAT survey or even an NPS survey, um, we have a workflow that says if we get a high score or a high NPS rating, let's follow up on our next email with a banner to drive a G2 review. G2 being a reviews website that ensures that your reputation is being properly represented from a customer review standpoint. So really at this point, we're getting, we're driving towards a key customer success objective here, which is, a target for number of G2 reviews. And again, we know that engagement's happening because it's happening through HubSpot. So we're going to utilize that data to drive this particular experience. And then this is probably like one of my favorite ones, which is using the data about the products that your customer has purchased to drive upsell and cross-sell opportunities. What if in CRM, you know that the customer purchased, let's say, product one. Um, Once they've received a certain or they've attained some certain deployment milestone or adoption milestone, we want to start promoting product two to them. So basically, this just allows you to utilize this channel. Again, the prevalent channel. They're engaging with your customer success team. They're engaging with your account manager. We know they purchased product one. I'm going to start promoting product two. We talked about how some of those notifications can trigger a follow-up, but through this method, we're actually effectively building pipeline for our expansion opportunities by kind of passively marketing products two, three, so on and so forth. And then one of the things I want to mention, and we can do in-depth demos with your teams on this, but it is so easy to activate this channel. This is kind of a screenshot of what our ad screen interface looks like. And again, it is really quite as simple as uploading a piece of creative, adding your link with UTM codes if you want. So it starts feeding into your attribution reporting. And then even scheduling your banners so that you can hop into OpenSense once a quarter, get your campaigns aligned with your content calendar, and just make sure that everything fires automatically. It very much is like a set it and forget it methodology here. So just to kind of recap, this integration that OpenSense has with HubSpot allows you to take advantage of what you know about your customer, the data that you have in HubSpot, whether it's in Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, Service Hub, or anywhere in between. And that data can be used to drive real-time targeted experiences in employee email, the emails that are being sent on a day-to-day basis from Outlook, Gmail, mobile, HubSpot sequences, Outreach, SalesLoft, you name it. OpenSense can influence it, and your data in HubSpot can really drive those personalized targeted experiences to help you to attract, engage, and delight your customers. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that all attendees are going to receive this incredible playbook, which goes into the flywheel in great detail and depth with some plays that you can actually run today. So keep your eyes open for that. It's one of the most robust pieces of content our team has ever put together, and all of you get to get your hands on it as a little bit of a leave behind, and love to get your comments and feedback on it. And ultimately, if you have any questions, you can reach out directly to me anytime. Again, I'm Bobby. I'm one of the co-founders here at OpenSense. This stuff matters to me a lot. I think there's a massive opportunity here. Just want to thank you all so much for your time and joining us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to share with you a little bit more about how we can unlock the value of employee email with OpenSense and HubSpot. Thank you.